Good morning. This is Venice Johnson, and you're looking at Tell the Story Venice. This is my second day going live, and I'm probably looking like I've got night makeup on. I've been practicing. I told you I if you know me at all, in some of my posts, you know that I've had a stroke about a year ago with his hand. And so I haven't been able to apply makeup. And so I got up this morning, and as I will try to do every morning, wake up and put, as they say, put my war paint on, but I'm not at war with anybody. It's not war paint. It's just, I want to look as best I can for you. And when I say that is I have spent so many years not taking care of myself, getting up in the morning, and honestly, I can tell you a lot of people, present themselves out in the world all fresh and whatever, but fluffy. But I never did. I drugged myself to work. I mean, no makeup, maybe some lipstick, looking all faded out. The only thing I wore that was kind of glamorous were my wigs, which you will see. Because some days I'll have my wig on and some days I won't. But just know that the things that I present to you in this camera is unscripted. I'm not trying to make an impression or trying to do anything that what would be untrue. Um, Tell the Story Venice is not only just Tell the Story Venice, other people's stories, but as we journey in this 180 days, I'm telling you my story, little bits of it at a time. Interviews that I have with people who are sharing their life and sharing their stories. We get to have an exchange. I started this out as affordable housing to talk about trying to save our building at Levy House. And someday I'll point to you what we were trying to get done. I don't even have the piece of paper in front of me. I should. But anyway, just the kinds of things we were trying to get. Affordable housing is just that. Affordable housing usually has to do with renting in condo buildings, apartment buildings, houses, and having landlords. Affordable housing means that you will probably have a landlord, and that landlord has the control of raising your rent as high as they want. And the problem with that is that so if they sell to developers, developers can come in and buy that house or buy that building, that condo, those apartment buildings, redo stuff, and then come in and charge you whatever they want, the market rate. And of course, we were in upset. We were surprised. I think it's around about August or September, we found out our building had been sold. That's what we were told. Your building has been sold. Well, it turns out it wasn't. So Jane Addams Caucus, that same day, somebody contacted Jane Addams Caucus, Senior Caucus, and said, these people, they'll fight for you. They'll help you organize. They'll help you do whatever. And we were totally oblivious. We're like babies, like toddlers. All we did was come in and out of our building, and we're so comfortable. We're like incubator babies, or what do you call it? CJE treated us so well that we're just spoiled babies. We weren't prepared for the parents to leave us. It's like when we found out that we were sold, which turned out not to be true. They were in negotiations with a developer called BJE, but the thing was they hadn't sold our building. They were just talking to them about it. And we started calling, people started calling and said, what's going to happen to us? And you sold our building and they're going to come in. And so we totally freaked out. Okay, now there are been people that have been living with CJE since they had their buildings. A quarter of the people I met while living in CJE, when I first got here, people were dying every month. I was tripping out. I was like, I didn't come to this building to die. People were dying every month. I mean, like days of the month where ambulances would pull up, because I didn't want to move into a senior building. Ambulances would pull up and you see the lights swirling around your window. And it's like, oh my God, is somebody else going to the hospital? And so I was just totally kind of like, I don't want to live in a building where people are dying. Why is this building cursed or something? But it turns out, and so immediately I started praying. Some people were like, I said, look, God, I didn't come to this building to die. I came to this building to live. You got to do something about people dying and going to the hospital every month or whatever. And I started praying. I started praying with my sister, and I started praying with my friends who have faith. And I'm like, hey, everybody's going to live. We're going to start doing that. And I started praying for everybody in my building. There's like 56 units. And so I started praying for everybody in the building whose name I knew, whose name I didn't know. I started praying for them. And I started to have this sense of finally community, because I never lived with anybody. I lived singularly in an apartment building. I never even had roommates because I don't get along with people that much. That's why I never got married, because why torture a man? Okay, why torture a mate? I knew I would be a terrible wife and a terrible girlfriend, whatever, and the temporary times I thought I might get married, I was terrible. I was terrible in relationships. I didn't even have a good relationship with my pets, which I am now. I used to have cats, and now I'm actually thinking about that. I'm old enough now at 69 that maybe I can have a relationship with an animal, maybe a rescue animal, and maybe help that animal save his life and have him save my emotional life. Because I tell you this, until I moved into this building and began to make friends in a random way, because it's not like I went out looking for friends. For the most part, when I retired, I was too exhausted to deal with relationships. So I just holed up in my house. And then being in the theater, I wanted to do something theatrical. So I eventually talked some people in the building, let's do a play. Let's do cabaret. Let's do a nightclub act or something. And I had people in the building who liked the idea. They loved old time music. And so we put on a show, which is wonderful. And it just seemed to rejuvenate everybody. It got everybody excited. Not that CJE didn't have special events going on, but we kind of enhanced it. I was glad about that. It gave me a sense that we were doing something, that I could be a part of something. Well, anyway, so I've been living in a cocoon for about 7 years because I had this building and these friends, even if we're casually friends, here's like we're like a family. You got an aunt you don't like, she runs her mouth too much. You got a cousin you don't like. You got a brother and a sister that you got a tenuous relationship with, but whatever, they're family. When something happens, you call the ambulance, somebody jumps in a car, somebody follows in the ambulance, they come to visit you at the hospital. This is an amazing thing about communities like senior citizen places. I'm not talking about a senior citizen home. I'm not talking about assisted living. I'm talking about people in buildings who have their own independence. They're not assisted by nurses or doctors, although we do have nurses and doctors who visit us. My doctor visits me once a month, and she'll send out people to test me. So sometimes I don't even have to go to a physical building. I think that's the 21st century, which was really like the 19th century and the 20th century, when you didn't need brick and mortar to go to. You didn't need to go to the hospital. The doctor came to you. I was delivered at home November 11, 1949. A doctor delivered me. So my dad was present before fathers were allowed in emergency rooms. My dad passed out on the floor and they pushed him to the side, and I was born on a Formica table in November 11, 1949. But anyway, let's get back to the reason why this channel exists. I told you that virtually I had just checked out of life. I was in pain. I had just gotten out of the hospital. I had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, unable to walk or breathe. I was falling all the time. I was living alone, and the doctor was saying, "Why are you living alone? You need somebody to live with you." It's like, oh no, I'm not going to live with anybody. So finally, when I fell in my house, and then when I couldn't breathe anymore, they had to rush me to the hospital. The doctor said, "We're not letting you out of," the social worker said, "they're not going to let you out on your own. You got to live with somebody." I'm not going to live with somebody. What am I going to do? You can't go back to your apartment because you have mold. And I'm like, oh, no, not my apartment. I can't do it. And my sister kept telling me about this place by the lake. And she said, it's called Levy House. You should try it. Now, because over on that side of town, those people are sedity. You know, we Black people say sedity instead of stuck up. But anyway, I didn't think I could get into it. And my credit wasn't all that great because I had a house that thugs had pushed me out of. And so anyway, finally, somebody called me and said, I know somebody over there. Why don't you go over and see what the apartment looks like? And I came and looked at this apartment. Now, mind you, I came from a full bedroom, a walk-in closet, full living room, full long kitchen, full back porch where you could barbecue and do parties, everything. And here I am coming into this apartment. There's only 2 rooms. Eventually, this room is probably all you're going to see because my bedroom is loaded down with stuff I have been not able to let go. So I've been having a let go day. I know I may be rambling, but I'll get back to affordable housing. So anyway, finally I moved in here and I made friends. And so when we found out the building was being sold, we were freaking out because we live on fixed incomes. There are very few people. The building you can start at 55 and over. So there are some people who still work who make an income. But most of the people in 80% of this building or 90% of this building are fixed income people. So we have a finite amount of money that we make, and our rent is based on a scale. So it's based on 30% of your income, or the highest at 30%, but they scale it under that, what is affordable for you, because part of that 30% is calculated that, you pay. Most of us are on medication. Most of us have to go to the doctor. Most of us have to pay other things. So CJE didn't rip us out with money, even though each month, each year, when a lease is up, they would charge us 2% or 6%? I'm not sure, but they would charge us at least 2% more on our fixed income. So we were still able to afford the rent. But we found out if BJE came up, they could charge you 100% and get you out on the street. Most people, there's a lady that's been here. She's a Holocaust survivor. She has been here since 22 years ago. She's a uh, uh, from Paris. She was kidnapped on the streets of Paris when she was 14 and spent 2 or 3 years in a uh, concentration camp. Um, I've been trying to get her to tell her story. Maybe she will, maybe she won't, maybe she'll share it with you. Every once in a while, she'll have kind of not a flashback, but every once in a while, she'll tell you how much it means, this building, how much the friendships mean in this building. And you'll see some of the story. You'll hear some of the stories of the people who need affordable housing. I need it. I can't afford to pay market price. This neighborhood alone is like $2,000 or $3,000 a month. That's the market rate. But we don't pay that because we can't afford it. Some people may be able to on pensions and stuff, but I'm not able to, and a lot of other people are not able to. So we freaked out. It was like, oh Lord, what are we going to do? And of course, my friend who survived the Holocaust said, no, I expect to die here. I've been living here 22 years. I expect when I leave this building, they will take me out and I will be dead. And that is a sense of security for her. Some people have been living in apartment buildings for 30 and 40 years, the same building. And then developers came in and gentrified the neighborhood. And these people were literally, literally tossed out, squeezed out, houses bought, buildings bought, and they were literally thrown out into the street or forced to find someplace else. And some people in the interviews that you'll see, they have been thrown out by the squeeze by developers taking over available rental spaces to the tune of up to 500%. So I'm telling you, it's really, this affordable housing thing is really serious. And we have to fight. We have to fight politicians that go up for letting developers take over and squeeze out people. Because where are we supposed to live? I think the whole idea is, it's called, I've been doing a little research, it's called urban suppression. Like these buildings and stuff like that, putting people in from Silicon Valley and corporations, they're putting them in apartment buildings that they're making smaller and smaller. And these people live in cells like they did in China when China was trying to come into the American market. They had these little pallets on the bed. Chinese people literally were on the floor. They would sit up in the desk and do whatever they had to do, the little medicine, and do what they had to do. And then they'd go flop down on a mattress or a mat. They get back up and work. And that and to the tune of that, China did that to the point where now China has so many rich and well-to-do people, because we know how many billions of people. Well, they're making so much money from buying American goods and European goods that now they have to send, that their people don't want to work anymore like they were working before. So China is sending their work to Africa. Like, remember Made in Japan in the 20s? It was the 20th century, made in Japan. Now it says made in China. Pretty soon it's going to say made in Africa, because now the trade has become so global, and China is making so much money that now, they used to say, you better learn some Chinese. I think people need to learn some African. I don't know. But anyway, so affordable housing is all over the world, or the lack of, or the shrinking market of affordable housing has happened. And I want to be fair. I don't want to just say developers are just creeps and terrible people. I think they're just people that deal with the bottom line, who don't deal with themselves as people or deal with people or just say, look, this is about business. This is global business, and we're going to do the bottom line. I'm going to try to see if I can get Joe Moore. He's the alderman of the 49th Ward. He's one block. His office is one block. His house is one block from us. And I tell you, I've only met Joe Moore a couple of times. And I tell you, I know he's a politician. I know he's in charge of zoning. I know he is in charge of, he's the chairman for affordable housing. I know that he's those things. But he came in and said, look, I'm going to make sure you get a grant so you can have some more units, and you people who are here, you could stay. I'm making a deal with them. You could stay, and we're gonna make it whatever. So I can't villainize Joe Moore, because I think he's done some really nice things for us. So I want to thank you, Joe Moore, in the 49th Office Ward. I want to thank Jane Addams, Senior Caucus. I want to thank the people who will appear on my channel that share their story with you, because honestly, here's what I think. We just heard that story about that man going and killing up people at the Mercy Hospital, and it's the saddest thing in the world is for you to miss your purpose in life. Your purpose in life is not to take life, it's to further life, to enhance life. You know, it said that Christ came to this country, whether you believe in God or not, or Buddha, or whatever you believe in, that life is meant to be perpetuated by good. And I think we can eradicate hunger. We can eradicate people having or not having a place to live. We can eradicate poverty. We can do that. We can do that. This planet is full of food. It's full of people who can make a difference. You can make a difference. Stop giving your money to people who just spend it and live really good. And when you need a loan, you lose your house, they can't give you anything because they tell you, look, we can't help you. Like I remember this man said, I go to a place that I tell you, Courtside Ministries is where I used to go. I haven't been able to do it because I've had a heart condition that hasn't allowed me to be out in the cold or the heat. But Courtside Ministries got started by an Indian, an American Indian who was an attorney who used to represent people. And he started to see that when he would go take people that were going to jail, some people that didn't deserve to go, some people who were railroaded, they would say to him, please pray for me. And he would do that. And it came to him, what would happen, what would be the impact if somebody prayed for these people when they were going into court. So he started Courtside Ministries, and a wonderful chaplain right now is Pastor Tom Strinning, who represents the Illinois chapter. And actually, he's going all around the Midwest. My friends, Ethelene Boyd, and her friends in her church are now doing Courtside Ministries and getting trained to pray for people who are walking into the courthouse. I tell you, it's one of the most fulfilling things to know that you see people walking into the courthouse and somehow who say, yeah, you could pray for me. Yeah, because I don't know if I'm coming out or not. I don't know if they're going to arrest me and take me or whatever. But we have seen miracles happen. We've seen people get healed. You can find Courtside Ministries. You can go on the line and find out more about them. If you're a person who likes to pray, if you're a person that cares about other people, some people believe in God, some people don't. But if you're one of those people they call Christians, trust me, Courtside Ministries demonstrates the love of Christ every time they're out in the street. And you see so many people come up and thank you. But again, I seem to stray because I'm talking. But I always get back to affordable housing and why this channel exists. I want to talk about who we are and how we must maintain our humanity. Don't let somebody steal it from us. Don't let somebody convince us that we're not worthy. One person is so valuable to Christ, to the Lord, to the planet. One person can make a difference. You look at a Sister Teresa. You look at a Malcolm X. You look at a Dr. Martin Luther King. Look at a Medgar Evers. You look at a Colin Powell. You look at all these people. One person, each one of them in their own place, making the world a better place. So wouldn't you want to be a part of that rather than like developers? Yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money. The Chinese, yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money. But when you're on your deathbed, when they tell you you got hours to live, days to live, months to live, when you're under chemo, your hair is falling out, when your liver is all fried, when is it going to matter all the money you got? Will it matter when you're facing eternity? Will all those things matter? I think when people are dying, I don't think they're spending their time talking about, do this, that, and the other. Do they know? I mean, I don't think they're trying to party. I think people who say, throw a party for me or whatever, it's a whole bravado. I think a lot of it is that some people are meet death as a celebration because they've done what they were supposed to do. They've done it all. I think Miles Monroe was the person who said the greatest loss in the world is not what people fail to do right now. He said it's the cemetery. He says somewhere in the cemetery, there was somebody who found a cure for cancer. There was somebody who wrote the best-selling book to save the world. There was somebody who came up with an invention, but they never, ever, ever trusted themselves enough to work on that idea, to go through whatever it took to birth that idea and change the world. You might have ideas. Millennials act on their ideas. That's why I like them. At first, I thought they were snooty and aloof and uninvolved, but that's not true. Millennials don't want to waste their time like we were wasting our time. Because, see, they told us in the 20th century, you need 30 years to buy a house. A millennial is not going to buy a house for 30 years. At max, they may do a mortgage at 5 years. So that's going to be the revolution in real estate. And developers are trying to get as many of these units and get people out so they can attract millennials. But they don't know millennials. You think you got a plan for millennials. You don't know them. These people are so innovative. They are so strong. They are so powerful as a community. They can change world hunger tomorrow. They can develop ideas that would never occur to anybody. But maybe we did in the 20th century, but we didn't trust our ideas. Now I'm acting on every idea that comes to me, whether it works out or not. I'm going to do it. This station, this channel is an idea of building a community of humanity, of people who care about people and people who fight for people. I thank one Northside organization. I thank these people. I thank the Weibo Foundation for funding more than 43 organizations that help people. The Weibo Foundations, you may have remembered them. They had the Weibo store. I used to shop at them. They were a little bit under Carson's, a little bit under Learners or whatever, but they were a general affordable store, and they started a trust fund, and they help people like Jane Addams Caucus, and I don't know all the other stuff that these people do, but Weibo's Foundation is there. So anyway, I just want to say this is what the station is about. You're going to see some wild stuff. You're going to meet my wild friends. They become friends as I interview them. Interviews will be live and streaming from different cities. So I don't know where I'll be on location. When I take a notion, baby, you don't know where I'm going to be, but I'm going to be getting the story for you. and I'm going to continue the story for affordable housing. My life is changing. I am totally different than I used to be. I get up every morning so I can talk to you. 180 days, I promise. So you take care. God bless.